Good evening, and welcome to my man some chat. I am Majida Bay.
Hey, and my name is John Epteen. Glad to be with you tonight.
Absolutely, man. We're gonna have a great conversation tonight. This is May, right? We just finished Financial Literacy Month in the month of April. So this month we're gonna switch it up a bit, right? We're still gonna be talking about wealth. We're gonna talk about it from a different perspective. We're gonna talk about how your health impacts your wealth. So if you're interested in that topic, you definitely want to share with a friend, stay around, and we'll be getting started in just a few moments.
That's right.
Good evening, good evening. I am once again Majida Bay, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, again, Mr. John Epting. For those who don't know him, John is a senior financial broker with World Financial Group. Has been in the financial services industry for over 2 decades. Very, very knowledgeable. Somebody I trust with my family, with my money, with everything.
Thank you.
And we're going to be having a conversation this evening about your health and your wealth, right? So before we really get into the details of the conversation, John, can you just give a quick, brief summary about why or how does your health impact your ability to build wealth? Let's start there.
Oh, man. Actually, they both play a part in each other.
Okay.
They play a part in each other in the sense that if you're not healthy, it's hard for you to build wealth. If you're always sick, you're right. Of course, I don't think it's a shock now that there's an obesity crisis in the United States, especially. And if you notice, everything plays a part off of that. Matter of fact, the more sick you are, the more you spend trying to correct it, if you will.
Yeah.
So if we don't pay attention to things like that, so your health can eat up your wealth.
Right.
And then if you're not paying attention to your wealth, you may build a lot of wealth, but you spend it all trying to correct your health, and it becomes this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed, like I have some wealthy friends and some rich and wealthy friends, and I'm noticing that a lot of them spend a good amount of money on their health, right? It's only rich people I know that's going around getting IV therapy, and I literally have friends who get that stuff every couple of days, where they go into a place and get their vitamins and minerals or whatever through an IV, on a weekly basis, and then things like that. Those aren't things just super necessary, right? For some people, that it's convenient, and if you can afford it. But it can play a huge part. So, and then a lot of guys, unfortunately, I know some who spent, they're older than me, so they spent a good amount of their life building wealth, going after the dollar, right, or going after the bag, if you will. And now in their later years, because they didn't eat well, they didn't work out, they didn't pay attention to certain things. Now they're using the money that they built. And even in building your wealth financially, when we talk about financial products and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we're with advisors that just, weren't very good fiduciaries, I'll say it that way. And so now, when they should have done some things when they were really young, in reference to maybe life insurance and things like that, for estate planning purposes, now here they are, pretty wealthy, older, but now they're trying to get life insurance. So they're using, this is going to sound really crazy to some people, they're using 6 and 7 figures of their wealth. 7 figures of theard wealth. Actually, this guy is not a client of mine, but I've heard of an 8-figure case, in insurance premium.
Wow.
For life insurance premium. That's how much it costs. 8 figures.
Yeah.
For estate planning purposes, to protect,
the wealth that he built.
Right. 9 figures in wealth, but right. So you know, of course, don't cry for him too much here, but it's worth over 9 figures. But that's the key. So it's important that what we're going to talk about today, that people pay attention to that stuff. And we've said it numerous times on this call, that rich people, wealthy people anticipate.
Yep.
Right. And everybody else normally reacts. It's not
That's
until
true.
something bad happens. And just today alone, I've heard of 2 people who are diagnosed with cancer, stage 3 cancer. Just today. Just today. Actually,
yeah.
3, actually. Now that I just think about it, we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so today alone, I've heard about 3 people, 2 I know, right, personally, but 3 people who diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, right? So it makes, every time I hear stuff like that, it makes me wonder, are they prepared? Are they ready? You know, financially, of course, you know, nobody wants that stuff to happen to you, but are you prepared? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. So that really ties into the topic that I put here, because I put on there MediCARE and Medicaid. Right? Is
Right.
it enough? Right? Is it enough? And I wanted to ask that question because most people's mindset always kind of defaults to, all right, you know, the government's going to take care of me, or my job's going to take care of me, right? My job offers this, and the government offers that. And so most people's mindset is that, hey, you know, I'm good, right? I can get Medicare, or I can get Medicaid. And so I've learned a little bit about those two things in reference to, you know, estate planning and things like that. And so I want to just share with our audience real quick, right, what is required in order to qualify for Medicaid. So what Medicaid is, for those who may not know, right, it's an income-based welfare program benefiting people with limited financial resources, regardless of age. All right. So to break that down into plain English, if you're broke, you can qualify for Medicaid, right? And I'm actually going to show some numbers, actually what those numbers look like by state in order
Yeah.
to
Oh,
qualify
good.
for Medicaid,
Good.
right?
Good.
So for Medicare, however, right, it's a program to assist people 65 or older, and in some cases, people under 65 with specific medical disabilities or diseases. All right. So those are just general, right? There's a lot more to them. We don't have time. Right? We're not Medicare, Medicaid specialists, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we know that. But what we do know, right, is that it may not be enough. And for most people, it's not, right? I've had some cases, even in my own family, where in order to qualify for Medicaid, people had to essentially diminish their wealth
Yeah.
to get support, right? So, like you were just talking about, you know, the idea that, hey, if you don't plan correctly, if you don't put certain things in place, then you could actually diminish or lose your wealth in order to get the care that you need for your health. So, can you speak to that a little bit, John, in terms of Medicaid right now? And then we'll go into Medicare. But with Medicaid, the
Yeah.
fact that you actually have to be broke, you have to be poor
Yeah.
in order to get the assistance,
You're
and
saying
how that impacts.
you're
Yeah,
saying it. You're nailing it. That and it's kind of sad that actually some people actually plan on that. Like you plan to be broke. You plan to be poor
huh,
so that Medicaid can take care of you. That doesn't make sense. Like, you know, I'm a man of faith, and I just believe that God. Not everybody's gonna be wealthy, but I know He designed you to do things and take care of yourself and not depend
yeah,
on a government. And I'm not anti-government, but I know they don't care about me the way I would care about me, right? Or my family.
absolutely,
More importantly, not even
absolutely.
about me, my family. There's no way they care more than I do for them. So we should prepare for that. And unfortunately, you have to be poor. Now, here's the bad thing. Here's the bad thing. Because there may be some people who listen to this in the future and listen to us now that they don't realize that it's a it's not really a financial issue. It's a mindset issue.
Mm,
It's not a financial issue. It's a you know, some people say, man, I got so much debt. Debt isn't the problem. Debt is a symptom of a problem.
mm,
Yeah, I know it's a different way of looking at it. Debt isn't a problem.
absolutely.
right? Because there's a lot of, listen, it's a lot of wealthy guys, pretty rich people, savvy people who use debt to leverage. So it's not really
Yep.
debt to them, it's leverage to build something even greater. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who have a problem getting behind in them and, stuff like, I've been that guy, right? That type of stuff, right? And what I realized, the debt wasn't the problem, right?
Right.
It was the mindset behind it. It was the reason you went into debt. Why do you go into debt? Why do you buy stuff with money you don't have? Because you're trying to impress people you don't like, really. You don't believe in delayed gratification. Well, okay. So I said all that to say being in Medicaid or the welfare system, right? A system that was designed, I like to believe it was designed to be a hand up, right? And it ends up being a hand out because some people diminish their own capacity.
Yeah.
Right? To stay in that system, to stay in the welfare system. I probably have hundreds now. I've heard and been witness to situations where people found a decent level job and it paid, greater than they had ever been afforded and things like that. But prior to, they were on MediCARE, MediCAID, maybe even food assistance, WIC, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I can name 5 off the top of my head, unfortunately. 5 people, right? Damn, bad thing is all 5 were female, right? That they quit the job because they would make
too much.
They would make too much to get the assistance. Now, a couple of them, there was a gap in between.
Yeah.
Right? But if they had stayed on the job long enough, they would have got some raises and been okay. It was one. There was a few capacity that were just stark over, like keeping the assistance doesn't make sense, right? At this point, and they quit the job. 4 of them are local where I live, and one's in another area. But and some of this stuff happened a long time ago. But and it first of all, it hurt my heart.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
We tried to coach them. Now I can control where you go working, right? And what was one? I have her picture of her face in my head. She actually loved the job. She enjoyed doing the job. She was excited to get up and go to work, right?
Yeah.
Quit the job within 7 months of having it.
Oh my goodness.
Because it would affect her, and I've lost track of them and don't. Oh my God, I see her face in my head. Right? Well, the same type of stuff happens when it comes to Medicaid. Right? People diminish how much they save, how much they put away in a 401k that the job offered, how long they stayed on a job. That's why you might find some people who are in their 60s, 70s, and they've had all these jobs, but they never stayed anywhere longer than 3-4 years. Right? And then come to find out, if you have a deeper conversation with them, it end up being a generational thing. Like,
wow,
this is what they saw their grandparent do, and as weird as it is, right? And then, of course, there's some people, man, I'm hoping some people ain't listening to this, but there's some people who try to give the money away to other people, to people in their family, kind of, transfer assets to other people so they could stay in the Medicaid world. And if they only knew what, this talk really isn't about what Medicare, Medicaid is. It's about what it isn't, right? And that's something we talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
And most people just do not get this, and it hurts my heart. I mean, those situations brought anxiety on me because I couldn't save that family. And I had all the tools to save the family, but they wouldn't allow me to.
Yeah.
All because of a mindset. I wasn't even trying to get them to do anything. I was just trying to get them to shift a mindset. But we deal with this type of stuff all the time because people think, like you said earlier, the insurance they got on their job is enough, and what the job offers. It's a mindset, and there's so many different mindsets that keep us in bondage.
Yes. Oh, that word, right. Yeah. And like you said, it really is heartbreaking and it does keep people in bondage, right? You like to quote Harriet Tubman, so often where she says that I could have freed so many more slaves had they known they were slaves. And people don't
Yeah.
realize that like debt and sometimes these systems are financial slavery, right? It's keeping people in bondage because it's
Hmm.
keeping their minds locked, right? It's keeping their
For sure.
minds enslaved to a certain degree. And so I want to actually share this screen because I want people to see really what the numbers are in terms of qualifying for Medicaid. All
Yeah,
right.
let's do
So
it.
we're going to take a look at this. Let me bring my screen up. All right. Hopefully people can see that. So it's by state, right? And so we start with Alabama, and I guess it depends on you know the type of Medicaid. Okay, so the type of Medicaid, but it's roughly $2,400 per month is the maximum as a single person, and about roughly $4,800 per month married in order for you to qualify for Medicaid. All right,
Wow.
and so we talk about building wealth here, right? And at these income levels, right, I like to break it down to the small. $2,400 per month. You break it down into 4 weeks. That's $600 per week, right? What
Amazing.
family can survive, right? And I guess understanding that, like most families can't survive on just $600 per week. And we talked about it last month when building wealth. You're looking at the inflation, you're looking at taxes, right? And if those things are going up, and your family's barely making $600 per week,
Wow.
how can you? Right? You need help, right? But I like your mindset. Increase your capacity, right? We have all natural gifts and talents that can help us to grow and to increase our income and that's a lot of the kinds of conversations that I'm having with people that I'm introduced to all across the country, right? My brothers referred me to quite a few people all across the country. And, my conversation is, what can we do to increase your income, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's stop managing the little bit that we have and let's focus on increasing, right?
Yeah.
Because you can manage a little bit, but like, why not just grow and expand, right? And increase your capacity and getting people to really get those wheels turning and think about some options for themselves that they hadn't maybe considered. I talked to actually this one young lady in Georgia. Mom, I think she's got 4 sons. She's holding everything down and she's doing the best that she can. And so, we had that conversation. I'm like, look, there's not a whole lot that I can do until we increase your income, right? At the end, like that's all, right? That's your options right now. And
Yeah.
so she started, we had a few conversations and she started looking at some different options. She was like, maybe I can tutor or, and people don't realize their capacity, right? Until you plant that seed. You've said it before, you
Create the space.
create the space. That's right. That's right. Create the space to believe in what's possible for them. And
Hmm.
so, some of these numbers, right? Alabama for regular Medicaid, aged, blind, and disabled, $800 per month, right, is the limit. And
Yeah.
it's been some time since I've made this kind of income, so it's hard to believe like that families, right, like a whole family
Yeah. An entire
can
household can't make over this $800 for you to qualify for Medicaid. And then I can tell you from my own grandmother, right? The service and the things that come along with Medicaid, I promise you, are not good. It's disgusting
yeah.
in the way, right? And that's another thing when it comes to our government. Look, I love our country. I got shot at for our country. I jumped out of stuff for our country, but right, why would you want to put your life, trust, care into that? I just don't. I don't get it. Right. I'm doing everything I can. Probably not everything I can as fast as I can, but for my family just to be free. I just want us to be free. I don't want us
Yeah.
to have to think about anybody taking care of us, helping us, giving us anything, right? Even if it's owed to us, I don't want it. I mean, well, don't take me. I'll take it, but I want to make sure that whatever we do, right, is and everything else anybody else does is gravy. It's just piled on top, right?
Look at this language, John, right? Like no income limit, but resident is only permitted to keep $35 per month. Right. This is in California.
That's in
For
California.
right, an institutional or nursing home Medicaid.
Yeah.
The language is even problematic to me. You're only allowed. Like it's very controlling in a sense, right? Look, you want this. If you want this money, I'm gonna need you to like. You got to limit yourself.
And you said it. I said it earlier. I said the word bondage. Right. I'm gonna say it in a little bit harsher way right now. So brace for impact. Right. It's a form of slavery. It's a form of slavery, and people don't want to see it as that, but that's what it is. It's a form of slavery. See, most people think slavery was abolished, but they brought it back.
You just changed
in many different ways. In many different ways. This is just one we're talking about, right? And I can get into some other stuff, but and most people don't get it, and the people who do get it, the people who are so-called woke, they know it exists, but in my opinion, their idea to eradicate it is focused on the wrong thing. In my opinion, right? They want to focus on changing the system, which I'm good with, right? But I want you to think about that very system. They put it in place, like, right, but if you just became free financially, you became free career-wise, you became free, right? And mind you, using their system.
Yeah.
Using their system, whether it be the tax system or the right entrepreneurial system, whatever it is, right? Capitalism, right? You can become free and not have to deal with that at all. And then you can change it from another perspective. I notice that when someone has something good,
right,
sometimes they don't appreciate it till it's gone. So I want you to think about this. What if you're good in part of the system, right? And you help create and build the system and Okay. What if you weren't, it didn't exist in their system anymore? And then they'll start appreciating it. It's just a different way of thinking of it, right? Because my way of thinking of it is just as hard to change the system than you being in the system and trying to change it. The only difference is my way, we free sooner. And we don't have to ask for permission.
I like that. No, so it's crazy because I've run across that too, where it seems like there's this dichotomy, if you will, of you promote one ideal, right? But on the other side, they want to be right. Like everybody talking about these stimulus checks, right? And granted, if they're gonna give me free money, I'm gonna take it.
I'm gonna take it. If they give it to me.
Right? Like like it'd be silly not to. At the same time, we shouldn't like don't have the mindset to depend on that, right? Like that should be money to advance, right? Get you further along. All right, let me take this stimulus money and reinvest it. Let me take this money and put it so that it can work for me. Let me sow that seed so that I can reap a harvest. But most people is just like, I need this money. Or, we going out and we spending more money and we buying stuff that we can't afford and things like that. And so we got to shift our mindset to take ownership. Really, that's really what it comes to. Take ownership of your life, right? The government, nobody outside of you. I love how you said that. Like nobody cares about you or your family more than you do. At least I would hope, right?
At least we hope, right?
I would hope, right? You care about your family more than. So what can you do to put your family in the best position to be successful, to win in life? I'm looking at this, no hard income limit. This is Hawaii. One's entire income, except for $50 per month, must go towards cost of care. Like, what am I doing with $50? If all of my money is paying for this person's care, what's $50 going to do? I can't buy groceries. I can't provide lights. Like, what is $50 going to do? And your ability to create the income is so much greater than diminishing your capacity. So I just really want to get into people's minds tonight that, hey, your health, right? We talked about that. We started there. Your health does impact your wealth, but your mindset, right, impacts them both, right? It really does. how you think about money, how you think about your health is really going to make the difference long term.
And sometimes it's funny how we're shocked at certain things we shouldn't be shocked at. Like if we have obese family members, right, and you're not talking to them about getting healthier, right, changing their diet, something like that, you can't be shocked when they get diagnosed with cancer or they go into a diabetic coma. Why are we shocked? We should expect it. Matter of fact, outside looking in, we should be preparing for it because it's coming.
Yeah.
When was the last time you seen an obese centurion? Somebody who made it to 100 years old and was obese. You're not going to see it. Right? So these are the type of things we should, and then we act like it's shock or they were gone too soon. No, not really. We're shocked they made it longer than they made it. I mean, as long as they made it. Right? And sometimes we just don't want to have those tough conversations with family. Right? Because we live in such a politically correct world. Right? Don't point out people's flaws and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to, but if we love people,
yeah,
shouldn't we love them enough to tell them the truth? Of course,
absolutely.
do it in the right way. Don't belittle them. Don't do that. Gosh, come on. If this is your family member, you love them, so you don't want to hurt them, right? But you do want to wake them up, right?
Wow.
And then don't hold. Yeah, I want you to read that one.
Yeah, in Missouri, all available income must be paid towards care.
Isn't that
they're not letting you keep a dime?
Yes.
If you want their assistance, you got to give up all of yours, right?
All your money got to be gone already.
That's welfare. Crazy,
that's
right?
Welfare. That's welfare. So they're incentivizing you not planning. Okay. This is happening right now. I don't know why everybody is so shocked. There's some people now. I'm glad the way you brought up the stimulus checks, right? A vast majority of people who receive stimulus checks, I know people are not gonna like what I'm getting ready to say. Vast majority of the people who received a stimulus check did not need it. They didn't need it because I do this little exercise a lot. I ask people, can you name 10 people, right? Because all of our news stations have told us that the entire world was falling apart because of COVID. Okay. I ask people from many different facets. I have access to many different, economic brackets and those types of things. I asked them to name me 10 people who was affected financially because of the pandemic. In other words, they lost a job or they lost hours or something like that. And I haven't come across anybody yet who could give me 10 people. I did run across a waitress, a restaurant owner who could give me 5 people. Actually, he didn't even give me 5. I gave him the last 2. He gave me 3, right? And he had forgot about those other 2. Right. So, but that's it. So normally the people, because everybody else just went home and started working. They worked from home. Zoom became their life. Microsoft Teams became their life. Right. Most people, especially where I live, most people either work for the military or the government or and the companies just shifted. Hey, we're going to work from home.
Yep.
They didn't get affected. So it's funny you brought up the stimulus checks. So they got this money. I don't know the numbers, right? $600, $1,400, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
How many of them invested it? How many of them saved it? How many of them, paid off a debt? How many of them invested in Bitcoin or Dodge or something? This was money you weren't even expecting.
Right.
Right. Why am I talking about that? To prepare for this. But unfortunately, and most times, most people, it's way too late when they figure out that there's holes in their plan.
Yeah.
They get to retirement age, and that's when they figure out there was holes in their plan. Because they never saw a financial professional, or they saw a financial professional was more more concerned about selling them something than actually strategizing.
Offering them a plan. Yeah.
Yeah. So these
And
things,
so,
I'm so glad you brought this up, because so many people don't know they're planning on Medicare being enough. They're planning on Medicaid kicking in when something happens, and you going through those states is a wake up call in and of itself. Matter of fact, can you stop there in North Carolina? What does that say?
yeah. So North Carolina, it says must be less than the amount Medicaid pays for nursing home care. It's estimated to be 5,500 to 7,910 per month.
5,500
So,
to 7,910 per month. The reason I asked is I'm planning to move to North Carolina. Right now, that's never gonna be me. I mean, because we're planning for the. I don't ever anticipate me having to go to a nursing home or something like that, right? We'll pay for somebody to come in our home and take care of me, or I'm a lot older than my wife, so I'm anticipating that it'll be me before her. But we'll have the funds to take care of that, and I don't think I ever want to go to a home. I want to take care. I want somebody to come in and take. And my wife just recently, mind you, she turned 40 yesterday, so she's super young. But
happy birthday, Abby.
That's right. But she was like, because now she works in the medical world, she sees some things, and it's kind of been a wake up call for her. She's like, babe, if I ever get specific things, I'm not gonna name the things, but if she's like, babe, please make sure you hire somebody. She's like, I don't even want you caring for that. I don't want me to drag you down in caring for me in that way because of this particular thing that I have. Right?
Yeah.
And I said, babe, don't worry, I got it. This right. But my wife and I, we're gonna be like the movie The Notebook. We're just we'll both die. We'll both pass away in each other's arms the same night. So I'll be 114. She'll be 104, and we'll still look good. Well, she'll still look good. That's
man. Yeah, so 2,400 seems to be like the upper limit for most states.
Yeah, 2,400. 2,400. Matter of fact, what's Virginia? I've forgotten, even though we live here.
Virginia is, I just passed that, 2,400 for Medicaid waivers, home and community-based services, regular Medicaid, age, blind, and disabled, and institutional is 2,400.
Yeah.
But 860 for other cases.
860.
Yeah, 860 a month. Whew, not getting too far with that. And so I wanted to share that with our audience because I've seen, family members, as I mentioned before, I've seen family members literally have to like sell their assets, right? They spent their entire life building these assets, right? Whether it's rental property or, paying off their home, all this kind of stuff. And they've had to sell those assets at, almost at the drop of a dime in order to, get the care that they needed for themselves or for a family member. And it's heartbreaking, right? It's devastating to watch. Because there are alternatives. There are things that you can do to prepare yourself so that you don't depend on Medicaid. You don't have to lose the assets, the wealth that you're building in order to qualify for the care. And so I want to speak to that a little bit, so that our audience is aware, right? They have some understanding about what options they have, right? You don't just have to depend on Medicare. You don't just have to depend on Medicaid. You can actually put certain things in place in order to position yourself to be best prepared down the road. And something that I learned, I took this course last year, and it said 80% of people who or 80% of people who are in nursing homes are utilizing Medicaid, right?
Wow.
80% of people in nursing homes are utilizing Medicaid. And so they're meeting these income limits. They essentially can't have any assets. And there's some things that you can do to, like you said, transfer assets, but there's also time limits surrounding that as well.
Big time time limits. And then And that can be a federal offense. That can end up being a crime if you're not doing it the proper way.
Right, right. So can you share just a little bit about that, right? The time limits associated with it. I know it varies by
Oh,
state, but just in general.
yeah, it varies by state, and please don't make me get into that because I'm gonna screw it up. Some of that stuff I try. Unfortunately, I'm not even trying to be an expert on that because I'm really trying to help
Yeah.
people build wealth and prepare ahead of time, so that Medicaid is not even a thing we talk about. It's not even something we think about. And how I do that is I just help people see the value in investing into
Mm,
plans that protect them from that. Right. So, you if you see the value in something, the cost doesn't matter. And unfortunately, sometimes people just aren't expressed the value. They're told they need this. Hey, you need this, and this is why you need it. But that's not sharing somebody the value.
yeah.
For me, the value of me having, for example, I'm 49 years old, and I have a long-term care policy. Right?
Okay.
What's the value of that? Well, I never want my wife or my daughter, and they love me a great deal, and it's really cool for me to even be able to say that that they would love to take care of me. Uh, I don't want them to. Okay,
Mhm.
I never want them to be my caretaker, so to speak. Of course, watch after the people who are watching after me, right? But I don't want them to have the stress on them. I've seen the stress of someone caring for a loved one who has Alzheimer's or dementia,
Yeah.
or and name other things. I mean, it's not just those two. Those are the big ones,
Yeah.
in my
Paralysis or
opinion. And I actually watched this. My wife and I were down in Florida a couple weeks ago, and we watched a family at a restaurant with the reason I remember him because he had on a veteran's hat. So he was an Air Force veteran, and you could tell he was up there a little bit. But as the son was walking out and waiting on him because he wanted to talk to everybody at every table on their way out, the young man said, "Alzheimer's sucks."
mm,
I remember him saying that, and but you could see that the family was taking care of him, right?
yeah,
But you could also see that it was wearing on the family,
absolutely.
right? Because they didn't have a caretaker with them at the restaurant. It was the family, right? So
Mhm.
I guess they've taken on. I applaud them for doing so. Um, and I love my wife and daughter. I love my brothers and sisters. Like, I just love them to crazy. But I don't want them to have that burden. I don't want to say
Yeah,
burden, but I don't want them to have that burden of taking care of me in that way. I
yeah,
want to be their brother. I want to be their husband. I want to be their
mhm,
father. I want to be their cousin, not
yeah,
someone they have to take care of. And we put the right plans in place. We can hire the best of the best to take care of me, and do the same for my wife. Do the same for my mother and stuff like that. Right? My mom. I don't ever want to be her caretaker. Will I do it? Absolutely. For all she's
yeah.
done, absolutely. But for her and for me, right? I don't ever want to be her caretaker. I want to be her son.
hmm
Because I want her to keep her dignity.
Yeah,
So
I've heard
some
you
people,
say that before. Yeah,
I want
yeah,
her to keep her dignity. I don't want to have to wipe her butt because a part of her, I don't know if it'll affect her, but to me, she loses a little bit of her dignity if I have to do that for her.
hmm
Right? Even though she wiped mine, she, she'll lose a piece of her, and I want her to keep her dignity. I still want her to be. I just want to have more conversations with her. I want her to be in my home at that point, and we got a great staff that takes care of her. The staff that we can keep our eye on them. They right. So to make sure that anything and everything, they're not mistreating her or anything like that. Same thing for
yeah,
me. Same thing for. I think anybody will want that for their family members that they love.
absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
if we really want that, are we investing in that?
Yep.
Are
We
we
said,
if we say we want something, are we investing in it? Are we putting money away for that? Are we doing some things to prepare for that? And I know
yeah,
that's a tough conversation to have, but I think it's better that we have it than not.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually on a conference call this Sunday morning, and it is with Eric Thomas and Associates, and he said on there, he said, if you think more about death, then you'll live a better life, right? Something to that effect. I know I'm not quoting it right, but if you think about death, like you'll live a better life, like your focus is on living, right, living well, when you're thinking about the end. Like, right at the end, we all got to go sometime. We don't know what that's going to be. So make your life, one that's fruitful and fulfilling, and all of that. And, part of that is expanding your capacity, increasing your capacity, and giving your all to life, like doing the best that you can do while you're here. And, I've learned so much from you, John, in terms of that, right? Just that mindset about, right, allowing your parents to keep their dignity. Right? That's something that I'm like, yeah, I could agree with that. I can attest to that. I want my parents to just be my parents, right? I just want to be their child. And so while I would wholeheartedly do that, right, I don't want to have to do it, right? I don't want to be in a
Right.
position where like that's the only option because we didn't plan to prepare. We're in a position where we're healthy and we can put things in place to do that, right? So the plans that people can put in place, right? You mentioned the long-term care insurance is one thing. And I really want people to understand, like, you got to shift your mindset to, you're not spending, you're investing, right? So that's
Yeah.
why we said that invest into plans that are going to provide these various benefits for you and your family. You can
Well,
you also get what you don't pay for, right? I mentioned that
right.
before.
Right.
You can get what the government offers, what your job offers, but what you don't pay for, you don't know if it's what's right for you and your family either.
Something dawned on me in reference to our listeners, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a stigma in our world. Just the very word insurance bothers people, right? And I think, if you don't mind, let me break down what insurance really is.
Okay.
It's a transference of risk. That's all it is. It's a transference of risk. Why do we have car insurance? Because we transfer the risk of us getting into a car accident and us having to pay for it. Why do we have health insurance? Um, because we transfer the risk of having a really bad sickness and us having to pay the cost, the full cost
Hmm.
of that care, whatever it is. Like I've, this past year and this year, I've done a lot with my health. Checking up on things, making sure things are straight. I got another doctor's appointment tomorrow. Um, Had to do a bunch of stuff to prepare for that today. So I got to go see a neurologist tomorrow and all those types of things. And I think about the cost because, I get the bill. I get the full what it is, right?
Hmm.
And then of course my portion, what I'm paying, right? And I'm like, wow, right? Thank God I had a daughter who spent 50 days, 7 weeks in a hospital, right? And then she passed away, right? And the cost of that, right? Thank God
Yeah.
we didn't have to pay all the cost of that, right? So what did we do? We transferred the risk. Now, as I said that, I want you to think about this. What insurance actually does if it's a transference of risk? It protects your wealth. It protects your wealth. What if you got sick, you had to go to the hospital, the doctors, whatever the case may be? What if you had to pay all the cost? And I know it's a lot of people complain about the cost they do pay, right? But think about what if you had to pay all of it, right? That didn't protect your wealth. So the same thing when it comes to long-term care, preparing for that, you're protecting your wealth, if you will. You're transferring the risk of that
Hmm.
happening. If you get the right type of plan, right, it won't be use it or lose it too. Right? My car insurance is use it or lose it. If I never use it, all those premiums are paid and blah blah blah. Right? But there's now plans when it comes to life insurance and long-term care and living benefit type plans that it's not use it or lose it. If you don't use it, then it will go to your beneficiaries. If you don't use it, you use it for something else. So I just think people need to understand what insurance is because it's a stigma in our world that insurance
Yeah.
is a thing, right? And I promise you, it's better to have it and not need it and not have it.
Absolutely right. Because when you need it, you can't. get it, right? Like
Too late. Yeah.
it's
Too
too
late.
late, right? You can't qualify for it.
You
My
can't qualify.
brother-in-law actually shared something with me today. It was he just became an owner operator in his own trucking business, and
Okay.
so he shared this video with me, another trucker who has a YouTube channel, and the subject was truckers need life insurance, right? I think that was the title of it. Her truckers need life insurance, and there was this young lady on there who was explaining to them on this platform how different insurances work, right? Because a lot of times we talk about building wealth, right? You invest in this and invest in that, but nobody likes to talk about insurance. Just like you said, there's this stigma about insurance, and she laid it out to them. I was just like, she's speaking my language, right? She laid it out to them how like you need that, and because of the tax code, right, there are benefits to insurance that these other programs don't offer, right? There's benefits
Most people
to,
don't. Yeah.
and they just don't know, right? They don't know about them. And so it's so important for us, to get educated. We got to educate ourselves. We have this platform here to help share some, bring some insight, add value, to help educate, but it's really to help you start asking some questions, right? Get your mind, working to think about what's out there, what's the possibilities, right? If there's things that you want to do, John says all the time, you got to have a plan, right? You got to have a plan, and you need help to develop a plan,
Yeah.
right? We had a show several months ago where we talked about, like, why do you need a financial professional, right? It's important to seek wise counsel, right? John, I learned that from you as well. And you have to seek wise counsel for things that you don't know, right? And it's okay that you don't know it. You don't have to feel ashamed, right? But
Right.
if you never studied certain things, right? If you didn't study money, if you didn't study parenting, if you didn't study biology, right? You can't expect to be an expert in those areas.
Right.
So take our ego out our back pocket, right? Or put our ego in our back pocket
Yeah.
and seek wise counsel. Find somebody that can help you learn the things that you need to learn to get to where it is you want to go. And so any last words on this topic? I know, we started with Medicare, Medicaid. We didn't go too much into Medicare. Like I said, we're not specialists in that area because we
Right.
really want to shift people away from that dependent mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's all right to take advantage of certain programs, but don't become dependent on it because you diminish
Absolutely.
and you lessen your capacity when you don't take ownership of your own life.
Yeah. It's a lot of people just trying to do things, and I get it. We have more and more information available to us, right? But if you don't know how to put those, it's like having a huge puzzle, but if you don't know where to put the pieces, it's going to be pretty tough. And here's the really, what's the most important piece in a puzzle? The piece you don't have.
Mm.
That's the most important piece of a puzzle. If you got done with the entire puzzle, right, except for this one piece, all of a sudden, all these pieces don't matter. It's just the piece that you're missing. That's the issue. So having a plan is super important, I believe. Matter of fact, I tell you, having a plan just gives you a level of peace that is indescribable. Really. Having savings, you walk taller, you move differently, you speak a little bit differently. I know that sounds crazy, but you actually do. You speak a little bit differently. You know, stuff like that. But having a plan is even better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you don't have all the savings and all the investments and stuff yet, you know where you're going, and you can move forward to that. So this has been fun. Yeah, I'll say a few things on Medicare. When it comes to Medicare, that's going to be kind of an automatic thing once you turn 65. I remember when my mom turned 65, and but 2 years prior to that, we were talking about and strategizing different things for her. And then, but then there's Medicare supplement plans you can buy to
Mm-hmm.
make up for some gaps, to make up for some stuff, right? But it is best to just have a plan. Make sure you looking at all of that stuff, and for that type of stuff, you need to look at it yearly.
Yeah.
Minimum yearly. Have a good somebody good who you can talk that stuff out with, and because as you get older, the need changes.
Yeah.
Right. When you first turn 65, you might not have had any prescription you were taking, and then fast forward, you're now 72, and now you do have some. right? And that's when the different needs change. So, but always having a plan and having somebody who you're bouncing this stuff off of. You know, it's good to have a good friend. I'm not even close to 65, and even though I work in the financial industry, I have a very, 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 very good friend that I refer to my mom. So every year when she's looking at those plans, she calls a guy way out here in Virginia, and she lives in Nebraska. And you know, because of our relationship, he has no problem. And you know, them two have kind of they have their own separate relationship now. They don't need me anymore, but they have fun with that. You know, so having good relationships, creating great relationships, so you can bounce stuff across people and people who's a professional. The guy my mom talks to, he's actually a professional in my industry. He's actually been in my industry longer than I've been on Earth, and that's who she talks to, and who would know better than a guy who's actually living it just like her,
Right.
you know? So fun stuff. But you need somebody outside. I have somebody else. I bounce this stuff across, right? Even though I do this for 20 years now. And I was gonna say there's a guy named Ed Slott.
Okay.
SLTT, and he's a tax expert. I'm not a tax expert, right? But he was the one probably a dozen years ago that I came across who big tax expert, right? And he was the one that was like one of the best things you could put your money in was life insurance when it came to taxes. And it floored me to hear another guy say it, right? This is stuff I came to on my own, and it was like, yeah, and he's big.
Confirmation.
He's been a big tax guy for a long time. Yeah, he's a big proponent of life insurance and of course anything Roth type stuff. So hopefully this information created some questions in some people's mind, and you can reach out to us via any platform on social media, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram. Reach out to us and just find us. But as you know, this is going to be a link on Facebook. So yeah, shoot us a private message if you have any questions, and we can, if we don't know the answer, we can find the answer, or we can point you in the right direction of an answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't be shy to get the help.
Very true. Very true. And just a little disclaimer: we are licensed. In multiple states we are, right, but
Yes.
we're licensed through the state and the federal government, and we don't want to lose our license. So any information you share with us is confidential. So just so you know, right? Sometimes people are a little leery about talking to somebody else about their money. And you mentioned the term earlier. Can you just real quick share what that means, fiduciary, right? What does that mean in terms of a financial planner?
As a fiduciary, it just means we have to take into account the client's best interest above our own. That's the simple way to say it, right? Without using, without me turning into an attorney. And you want to work with a fiduciary if you're going to be working with someone. It just means they have to put your interest in place first, right? Doesn't matter what. And I've done that my entire career. Because believe it or not, I didn't really join this business and get involved in financial services to make money. I didn't think I would be good at it anyway, but I knew I could explain things pretty well to people to help them to be able to make decisions, right? Because if you never make a decision, nobody got help. So yes, it is cool that it's become a business and a ministry for me, but that's not really why I got involved. I got involved because I just knew I could help my sailors 20 plus years ago now, but that was really the start. If you're not a sailor, I sorry, you weren't part of my thoughts in the beginning.
In the beginning, right?
In the beginning,
but now 10 years in, you met me, and then
yep. And I just love people. I love being able to educate and help people see things from a different perspective and empower them with some knowledge that can make them dangerous and advance their families to a new degree. But of course I can only help those who allow me to help them.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. So for those who want to, take advantage of a complimentary consultation with either John or myself, we've got the link there, scrolling at the bottom. And definitely come back next week, right? This month we're going to be talking about the interconnection of health and wealth. So we're going to touch on some different topics. We're going to talk a little bit more about insurance, because I think just people they just don't know about it, right? They haven't been educated about the benefits and some of the features of insurances and how that can play a role in building wealth, right?
Yeah.
I share with a lot of my clients, or with all of my clients, really, and people that I've referred to, that it's really the foundation, right? And I really like to focus on helping people build a solid foundation, right? So you get the right foundation in place, you can build on that. And investing is really like the icing on the cake. But if you don't have icing, you still got good cake, right? If you have the right foundation in place. So let's join us next week. I, that's not original. I got that from another sister, right? And she was talking to me in reference to relationships, right? She's like, if you add somebody to your life, that's icing, right? But you got good cake without the icing.
That's right.
And your life isn't good. So
that was really good.
It applies, right? It really does apply in a lot of different areas, right? Focus on the cake and hey, I've borrowed a lot of stuff from you, so you're free to use whatever I share. So I certainly appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you, John, of course, for providing your insight, and hopefully you got some education tonight. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week as we delve more into your health and your wealth. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.